It's kind of like this. We leave this building and we go outside and we're in the brightest part of the day, and the sun is shining bright. And we go out, and if we just go out and look, it could cause, anybody ever walked outside and you went, oh my God, it's too bright out here. The sun is hurting my eyes, and what did we do? Can you show me what we did? When the sun was hurting, what did you do? Yeah, that's exactly what we did. We put up a shield. But what we could do, and I want you to see this in the sense of a paradigm shift and what it does. A paradigm shift simply causes you to process through the lens of another perspective. So then, if we take these sunglasses and we walk outside in the same sunlight, nothing has changed. It's the same time of day, but we put these sunglasses on, and suddenly what was overwhelming for us, suddenly what was too much for us, suddenly what was hurting our eyes now becomes pleasant, and we can behold the beauty of it. Yes. Everybody say paradigm shift. Paradigm shift. And so what God is saying to us in the 21st century, that if we are going to embrace our greater now, within us there must be a paradigm shift. And why do we need a paradigm shift? Why is it, Pastor Charles, that we need to look at life through another set of lenses? I'll tell you why. Because if we only look at life through the lenses of how we grew up, some of us in here were maybe what, 5, 10, 25, 45, 85. Raise your hand, Mom. That's my mama, she's 85, y'all. We're looking at life through the lenses of our past and how we've been raised and what mama did and what daddy did and what they said and how they said things should be. So if we are trying to embrace a new era and trying to embrace a new decade, and we're looking at it through the old paradigm, we have a limited perspective. And what we do is we try to say that our opinion, our thought, is the only thought that's right. Well, why is your thought and your opinion the only thought that's right? It's because it's what I believe and it's what I've seen all of my life. So subsequently, if we process through those lenses, then what we are looking at and calling truth could possibly not even be truth at all. When we walked out into outside, the world was the same. But because I put on the sunglasses, my perspective was different. My perspective was clearer. My perspective was now greater than what it was when I looked the first time. When God started dealing with me with that, what he said to me is, some people are complacent and satisfied with what you have. It is because you're looking through those old lenses and you can't see anything greater. You can't see anything better. And people are looking at you and saying, don't you know who you are, Minister Ringo? Don't you know who God has called you to be? Every time I look at you, I see this, stand up, Minister Ringo, I see this great king. I see what God is going to do in your life. I listen to you talk and I hear that you have vision and that you want to do some things. But here I am talking to you 2 years later and you're still in the same place that you were. And not you, I'm just using you as an example. Here you are still in the same place that you were 2 years ago when I talked to you, and you keep telling me the Lord is going to make a way somehow. When? If he is saying that I want to do it for you, and that the time is now, you can be seated, what's standing in the way of it happening for you? We started, somebody preaching over there. Mother Sims, I'm going to give you the mic in a minute. I said, what's standing in the way of it happening? Mother Sims said, you. If God has promised you life and life more abundantly, why would he shield that from you if he has it for you? I'm going to give you the best of the best, but I'm going to shield it from you. That's not the God that I serve. Could it be that God sees that I'm not ready for it? I have not embraced the paradigm shift. I have not decided that I'm not going to keep doing things the same old way and expecting to get a different result. I'm just going to settle for where I am, and all of a sudden, like Dorothy, I'm going to click my heels 3 times, and I'm going to be home. Not so. It's a fairy tale. And God is calling us to a place of reality. Okay, so what does all of that have to do with this text, Pastor Charles, that you just read to us in the book of Matthew? Can somebody ask me that? All right, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. In this text, we find Jesus. Jesus and the disciples had just fed the multitude, the 5,000. Anybody know anything about that story? There was a multitude that had gathered, and it was like 5,000 of them, and that's not counting all the women and children. So it was 5,000 plus. And here they are, the disciples and Jesus were at this place, and the people were being drawn to Jesus, and it was time for them to eat. Y'all know how we get when it's time to eat. Don't play. Y'all know how we get. We get irritable, we get antsy, we start fighting with people, and I'm hungry. What's wrong with you? I'm hungry. These people were getting antsy, they were ready to eat. Jesus says to his disciples, call them to me. I got it. The disciples saying, no, you don't need to call them to you. It's time for them to go into the marketplace, and the market gonna close in a minute. And if the market closes and they here with you and they ain't got nothing to eat, we're gonna be in trouble. So what you need to do, Jesus, is let them go so they can get something to eat. But Jesus sees something different. He always sees something different. In your most distressed situation, you better know that God always sees something different. And what he sees is an opportunity to show his glory and allow you to see that when you get backed up against the wall and there's no hope for you, he is hope. So the story goes on that Jesus takes this little boy's lunch, 2 little fish, 5 loaves of bread, and he stretches it and he feeds all of this multitude. Okay? So imagine all this pressure. Prior to that, he had just heard that John the Baptist, whom he loved, had been beheaded. And so he's in a place of perplexity there, another place of perplexity with the fact that he has the pressure of having to feed this multitude. And so he feeds the multitude. And then he was like, okay, that's what's up. We got this done. So what we're going to do is, disciples, I want y'all to get in this boat because I need a minute. I need a me minute. Anybody ever needed a me minute? And those of you that didn't raise your hand, that's why you're so angry and upset and mad and because you're not taking a me minute. You better find some time to have a me minute. Okay, so Jesus said, I need some self-care here. Jesus tells the disciples, y'all my boys, we've been hanging, all 12 of y'all, I love you. Y'all my boys, but I need some time to myself. I need some time, Minister Scott, to minister to myself. So y'all get in this boat, and y'all go on a little ride. And I'll catch up with y'all later. They get on this boat, and Jesus goes up to the mountain to pray. And to, I would imagine, to kind of regroup. Anybody ever needed to regroup? And pull myself together. I've been in the heat and the thick of this pressure too long. I need some time to regroup. And the text says in verse 23, when he had sent the multitude away, he went up into the mountain to pray. And when the evening was come, he was alone there. So Jesus is there chilling out in the peace and the calm and the serenity of life, kind of shaking off what has happened all day long. Verse number 24 says, but the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves of wind, contrary. He's got all of this turmoil going on, the winds and the waves. They're out there, and can you imagine the disciples, all 12 of them? We on this little boat, and Jesus had told us to come out here, and it's just rocky, and it's just waves, and we're going back and forth, and they're falling over each other. You know, I mean, man, no, you're gonna push me overboard, and there's just a lot of tension that's being built in this boat here. And so these things are going on, and it's lightning, and it's thundering, and the winds and the waves, and all of a sudden the text says, and I love this, and I could not leave this alone until I looked it up to find out what it was. It says that in the fourth watch of the night. Can I tell you what the writer was saying here when he pointed out, and you got to remember, whenever you approach scripture, everything that's written in the scripture always has a reason. It always has a purpose. There's nothing that God allowed to be here that just does not have any meaning. But there was something about this phrase, in the fourth watch, that kept irritating me. What the writer was trying to get us to see here was that the Jews, what the Jews would do is they would divide the night up into 4 watches, and one watch would start at a certain time, and at the next watch it would get a little darker, and the next watch it would get a little darker, and in the 4th watch it was the darkest of the darkest. It could be looked at a time in your life where things are okay, and then they get a little bad, and then they get worse, and then all of a sudden you hit rock bottom, and it's as worse as it could get. What he was trying to get us to see here is the disciples were in a situation that was so perplexed and so messed up. It was as bad as it could get. It was as dark as it could get. Anybody ever been to a point in your life where you felt like it was as dark as it could get? You're in the 4th watch, and what the text says is that in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus shows up. That's good news for a 21st century believer that believes that God has all power. You've got to know that if you're at your lowest, that you're in the 4th watch. And what takes place in the 4th watch is one of 2 things. Either you're going to go down and be counted out, or Jesus is going to show up and he's going to bring you out of the 4th watch. Is there anybody in here that believes that God is about to show up? Things have gotten as bad as they can get. I've borrowed and I've borrowed and I've borrowed from Peter to pay Paul, and now I owe them all. I'm in the 4th watch, but it's time for God to show up, because God shows up at the 4th watch. Now, I dare you to put your hands together and celebrate it. It's bad in my life. It's grim in my life. It's dark in my life. But I am in the 4th watch, and God is about to show up. Because the scripture says that in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went unto them walking on the sea. Do you not know that he could have stayed where he was? It said, peace be still. But God waited until it got the worst that it could get. And God didn't just send a word, but he sent himself. He showed up.